You know what, Debbie? You know what I was thinking of doing for the beginning of this one was
Well,
saying absolutely nothing because I daren't say anything because we're going to end up in camps.
oh, tell me more. Tell me more.
Well, we're not UK anymore, are we?
UK, what was that? I mean, I've been saying for years that the United Kingdom. Good afternoon,
Good
everybody.
afternoon. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, Rao. I've been saying for a very long time we're the disunited kingdom, and now we are the non-existent disunited kingdom because we seem to have turned into China.
Yeah,
Have we?
definitely. Well, there's definitely something going on. There's definitely something going on. You
Oh,
can't deny it. You can't
not a
deny it.
chance. He sold us out. Let's cut through all. You know what we're like, we just say it as it is. And he sold us out to China. And for so many reasons, we need to be extremely concerned and extremely worried. And I hope he's enjoying his time, Sir Keir Starmer, if you're watching, by the way, in China, because even he had to take a burner phone into China because he was too worried about taking his ordinary phone because he knew that the Chinese would wipe it and take all the data from it the minute he crossed the border. So even Keir Starmer took a burner phone.
Should we watch Keir Starmer in
Oh,
China?
trigger
Should we?
warning.
Trigger warning, but let's watch him.
In the last 30 minutes or so, they're in Beijing, the first UK Prime Minister to visit China since 2018. It's a 3-day visit. Starmer is on his own walking down the steps there, but actually travelling with 60 business leaders, cultural leaders, hoping to develop trade ties. He's being met there by the delegation from the Chinese administration. Plenty of issues beside trade, though, of course, the human rights issues that will always crop up on trips like this to China. Keir Starmer saying, I've always raised issues that need to be raised. We are keeping right across this on the BBC News Live page. You can keep across.
So I'd be interested to know, like he's saying that Starmer raises questions about human rights. Are they raising questions with Starmer about the human rights oppressed on us?
Honestly, I don't know what to say. You can't make this up. There's nothing to say. It's rubbish. It's all hashtag bullshit, isn't it? It really is. This is all the world's a stage, and we've got front row seats, and we're watching this, and we're thinking everything that's coming out of Starmer's mouth is scripted. He's just saying what he thinks other people want to hear. It's clearly utter rubbish. There's a very, very dark hidden agenda behind this. I mean, even Trump just seems to be on a mission at the moment to criticize the UK, quite rightly so, for whatever reason, whether it be the Chagos Islands or whether it be the dealings with China. And I think he's come out and said, what on earth are we doing? Not just the UK, but Europe. This is dangerous stuff. Why are we dealing with Xi Jinping like this? Even he's called us out.
Yeah, I've got a clip of Trump saying that in a bit, actually. So, but when you watch him though, Starmer, let's just watch him when he's taking his little walk here. Why is he walking like he's holding a piss in? He looks terrified.
He is terrified.
He is.
He's overwhelmed. It's looked like he's overwhelmed.
He looks absolutely petrified there.
I'm not surprised. He's just landed in China with a burner phone. I mean, but don't worry now. I mean, this is amazing because this close relationship that we're going to have with China. I mean, we're all going to be able to go now and visit. We can go and see the giant pandas, and we can go and visit China. I guess we can go wherever we want. No holds barred. We can go without a visa.
We go without a visa now. That's quite amazing, isn't it? Have you ever fancied that?
Not really, no. No, to be honest. I can think of other places that perhaps I'm not the greatest of travellers, but I can think there's a few more places on my bucket list that are a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, I remember watching Carl Pilkington's trip to China, and I was a bit put off by it.
The thing is, we don't get to see. I mean, there's always two faces. There's two sides to a coin. We get shown what we want to be, what they allow us to see. And
Yeah.
it's like other parts of the world. You know, you can't go anywhere near Area 51. You can't go anywhere near Antarctica unless you happen to be on a scheduled little cruise around where you're allowed to go. You can't go to the Arctic in certain, but everywhere's militarized. We've got all of these military zones everywhere. So no, China's not on my top of my list. What about you? Do you fancy it?
There was a part of me that I like culture, you know, I like seeing different cultures and things like that, and I always quite fancied to just have a lot. I'd like to visit many countries because I'm interested. It's not a place that I'd want to kind of, you know, with the way they deal with their people. I certainly never would want to spend too long there. But ultimately we are becoming that. There's a Chinese model that's happening here in the UK and been happening clearly since 2020, and I would imagine it's been in the pipeline for a lot longer than that. So I'm very much concerned about this, to be honest with you. I know that we have other influences in the West, you know, and you can't say too much because you get called an anti-Semite. So I'll not say too much on that. But you know, this is a big one for me. This is like there's almost like an attack between Trump and Starmer. There's an argument going on, and that relationship is being corroded. And there's a trade deal war going on, and there's almost like a new world order war going on at the same time. It's like they're all trying to try to win the little race to hold the baton at the end here.
100%. There is, and you can see it. I mean, I think what you've just said really sums it up. You can now start to see the new world order, and it's been mentioned. I mean, I keep seeing it mentioned in newspapers, in mainstream media, alternative media. People are talking about this new world order, and here we see it marching in. And China, we rely and depend so much on things from China that we've allowed China to take over. And it's not just what they do to their people, it's actually what they do to their systems which affect the people. I mean, I've seen videos, and I know it's very difficult in this day and age to distinguish what's real and what isn't, but I've seen enough videos now of people in China that they say they're having their passports taken away from them in some areas, doctors, nurses, teachers, because they don't want them to leave the country. I know that there's been a huge purge, I guess, on education, and children have been forced into schools, and they've been forced a curriculum away from their parents without their parents even knowing. And I think, you know, again, we need to look at the UK, because at the moment we've got the Education Welfare Reform Bill going through, which includes the homeschooling of children. And if this bill goes through, it will mean that parents in the United Kingdom will not have the right to homeschool their child unless they have permission from the state, aka social workers, teachers. And if you're seen to be homeschooling your child, they are going to be surveyed. You're going to be asked to sign contracts. You're going to be asked what you're teaching your child. And if you're teaching your child something that the state deem inappropriate, such as perhaps you're talking to them about the trans agenda, if that's not in their curriculum, your child will be taken out of homeschool and removed and taken back into mainstream school. There's a lot of changes in education coming, and it smacks, quite frankly, of China. And you know, I saw a comment that you popped up on the screen there, and I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, but yes, it was part of the payoff was come and visit us in China, including the Lords and MPs who have critiqued China before. Now even they're going to get their bans lifted because they were banned from going to China. Now they're going to get their ban. But what's the payoff? It's facial recognition, isn't it? It's AI, it's spying, it's surveillance, it's tracking, it's tracing. And we've got, you know, we've got somebody like Chinese police stations. That's what was going on in the UK. There were secret Chinese police stations.
Yeah. And now
there
the
was-
embassy, you know, that
Yeah,
big embassy. So you can't tell
super
me
embassy.
something's going on.
Absolutely 100% something's going on. And you know, you look at the phones, you look at the networks, you look at how they can hack you,
Oh,
how
yeah.
they can take your data.
Yeah. And
We're
they're
sold.
basically saying, you know, nothing is private. But the World Economic Forum said it years ago. They said, you'll have no privacy, you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. And
Yeah.
they weren't fooling around when they made
No.
that statement.
No.
You know, this falls in line with, you know, and we're saying China heavily at the moment, but all of these countries that signed up for Agenda 2030 for the sustainable goals, this is their plan.
Yeah.
And they
It's
mucked up for
social
Agenda
credits.
21. It's social credit, of course it is.
Social credits. Our behavior is going to be monitored. We're going to be told, and you know what we've done wrong. If we've got a parking fine, perhaps we haven't paid inadvertently, or we've walked down the wrong side of the street and not. You wake up in the morning and you find oh, I'm sorry, you can't go to work because you've been banned because you, and then that goes into AI agents. You can see the whole system.
You can if you want to look. Yeah, if you want to look at it, Debbie, you can. But how many people are looking at it?
No, they see it as convenience and security. It's all for peace. It's all for our own good, isn't it? I mean, we've got all of this facial recognition because it's for our own good. But you know what? It's fake, because at the end of the day, mistakes get made. People are being arrested and they're being taken into custody because they've been facially recognized, but it's wrong. They've been misidentified.
Of course.
So, I mean, you know, not only are we being watched 24/7, but we're being listened to. And in America, they've got special microphones that are dotted, as well as cameras. They've got microphones. And these microphones are meant to be sensitive to gunshots and to put warning signals. But they're so advanced and so sensitive, they're picking up people's conversations. And, you know, there's all sorts of things going on in different countries. It's not just the UK. It just seems to be that the UK are just going, hey, you know what? We're stuffed. So everybody else, come on in. You know, we want to do trade deals with you. We're going to offer our population as a experimental base. And let's not forget, China is the biggest supplier of the world's antibiotics.
Oh, yeah.
So India is the biggest pharmacy of the world, but China provides us with antibiotics. And what are we looking for moving forward? Antimicrobial resistance, where we're not going to be able to get antibiotics. But if we end up in a trade war with China, we're not going to get goods either. And Keir Starmer obviously thinks it's much more important for us to get goods and to have an economic trade deal with China than it is to protect and keep his own people safe. Literally safe. He's not. He's putting it as a huge risk.
Like the initial video said that Starmer arrived in Beijing with 60 top executives from HSBC, GSK, Jaguar, Land Rover, Airbus, and many, many more. Should we have a look at what Starmer's doing in terms of laying the groundwork to sell?
Can we just remind
off?
people before you play? Can we just remind people? You mentioned GSK there. That's GlaxoSmithKline, folks. That's a pharmaceutical. I mean, as well as all the bankers and everyone else, that's a major pharmaceutical company. Just saying.
Just, you know, that's it. And just remember, keep casting. It's not long ago, 2020, and how they had people behaving and how they were manipulating people to behave in certain ways. They were normalizing us, ready for the changes that are coming into our population.
100%. COVID was a warm-up act for all that we're seeing now.
Yes, without a doubt. Right, let's play what maybe we should call him something different now. You know, maybe he's not Prime Minister Keir Starmer anymore. Maybe he's chairman or commander or something. I don't know.
President.
President. I don't know. Is there something different for him? I'm not sure.
I think chairman's pretty good, actually. Reminds me
Chairman.
of Chairman Mao.
Is a long time in politics. Try 8 years, because it's 8 years since a British Prime Minister stepped on Chinese soil. And so on this delegation, you're making history. You're part of the change that we're bringing about. And that's consistent with everything that we've done in government, particularly internationally, because we are resolute about being outward looking, about taking opportunities, building relationships, having confidence globally, and always being absolutely focused on our national interest. And it is in our national interest to engage with China. It's the second biggest economy in the world. If you take Hong Kong alongside China, it's our third biggest trading partner. There are huge opportunities to be had in lots of different ways. It's a long time in politics.
Okay, so what do you think there then, Debbie? I mean, he's obviously saying how important it is. I mean, there is definitely fractions going on between the UK and the USA. Are they just looking for another partner?
Oh, I don't know, but I mean, well, let's just start off with what did we just see? I mean, was Keir Starmer wearing a brown suit and a black shirt with no tie? I mean, how?
That's correct, yeah.
Seriously, this is kind of like casual. Surely world leaders should be meeting at least with a tie, with a tie on, and who it looked like he was leading a coach party, quite honestly. And if that was how many delegates did you say he'd taken? 60 odd delegates he took with him.
Yeah.
Well, tidy yourselves up, folks. You're representing your country, and I don't think it was a great representation. That aside, of course, his big message was it was all in the national interest. It's in the national interest that we must have this relationship, no thanks, with China. And quite clearly, we do not need this relationship with China. And it was very interesting because Hong Kong was mentioned there. And I'm very interested in what's going on in Hong Kong as well. And you have to remember too that when we handed Hong Kong back to China, everybody thinks it was Chris Patten that handed Hong Kong back to China, but it wasn't. It was the then Prince Charles, actually.
Okay.
It's one of those moments where people have got a memory of somebody, but it's wrong. But no, Prince Charles handed Hong Kong back, and there's a lot of goings on in Hong Kong. So it's interesting that he mentioned that, but no, clearly this is not in our best interest, that he's putting us at huge security risk. Huge.
Well, massively. I think it was MI5 or MI6 said that there's no way they could, 100% guarantee any kind of 100% security with the embassy, with all those tunnels and everything else that they're going to have built, all these underground rooms and this, that, and the other.
No, and let's not forget too, academia. When Xi Jinping came to the UK for a state visit some years back, the only place that he visited was Imperial College, because Imperial have got the biggest population of Chinese students and alumni in the UK. So when we talk about Imperial, and let's not forget Professor Pantsdown, Neil Ferguson, Imperial, many of the people that were the country's experts, the trusted messengers, all had dealings with Imperial. So on a medical level, on a health level, on a surveillance level, on a financial level. And let's not forget China are part of BRICS.
Yeah.
So what's all that about? We're meant to, that's not very dollar friendly, is it, BRICS? And yet they're part of the founding members. So it's like, well, this isn't really feeling too good from where I'm sat.
No, it's not at all. It's absolutely not. There was the channel Talk. There was a lady, Samara Gill, I think. She's a Talk breakfast reporter, and she said something quite interesting, I thought. Let's bring her on.
among a string of other Labour people that have gone there and laid the groundwork to sell the UK off to China. This trade deal and this trip is an absolute farce and will absolutely screw the United Kingdom over for years to come. And I know it's like, we don't think about China that much. And even as Mark Saber said, it's always the, Russian oligarchs that we think about. The Chinese own most of this country. They're just not as vocal about it as some of the other countries that have come in and tried to take power. So I think it's really, really scary, and we don't think about China enough. We've got two threats. There is the threat of Islamist extremism for the West, and then there's China, and they're very much having the same gravitas and the same pull.
I couldn't agree.
Among a string.
What do you think there, Debbie?
No, just bang on. I mean, we have sold out to China. It's a farce. It was a farce. It is a farce. I thought it was quite interesting this week's Prime Minister's questions, because of course Keir Starmer wasn't there, so David Lammy was taking Prime Minister's questions. But I mean, Keir Starmer, I'm sorry, it is a complete joke. It's a complete farce. And I think we need to be looking too at what the mainstream media's narrative is, and alternative media narrative is with regards to China. Because, although we've got many geopolitical problems at the moment, what with Iran and the USA, Israel, Gaza, I mean, the list goes on endlessly with regards, especially to the Middle East. We've got an awful lot to look at the moment. But I think that the biggest headline at the moment is China. I think we really need to be, and obviously immigration and migration, but on a geopolitical level, I think China are extremely dangerous. They're the second biggest economy in the world. And we have got an awful lot of Chinese spies, I believe, in this country. And that they're being, Chinese people are being arrested in this country. They're being arrested by these secret Chinese police, and they're being dragged back to China.
Yeah.
And also, it's interesting, actually, because the Chinese embassy, they say to their citizens that are coming to the UK, be very careful. The UK is a very dangerous place. Other countries are seeing us as the dangerous place to come, and be careful when you travel.
Well, let's be honest, it's not an ideal country at the moment, Debbie, is it? I mean, if you could cast your mind back to the 80s and 90s, and if you could then look to the future and see the UK becoming what it's becoming, you'd be devastated the way
It's unrecognisable.
it is, isn't it?
Unrecognisable.
It's horrendous.
Unrecognisable.
And the fight's always for the kids now.
That's why we're here, Anne.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Infiltrate. Batman, Robin, we'll infiltrate our security system, relay back to the powers like we are sitting ducks. Yeah, we are. Keir Starmer has literally put us in the position of sitting ducks. He's volunteered. If we're not being volunteered for clinical trials, aka experiments, medical experiments, we're going to be volunteered for all of this facial recognition, microphones in the sky, and being surveyed 24/7. George Orwell, 1984. We're here.
Well, we're going to get to that in a minute. Let's crack on with Keir a little bit more. Speaking in Beijing, he's like the fifth Beatle, isn't he? And I'll play a little bit about that in a moment. But
So I told President Xi when we met at the G20 in Brazil in 2024 that we want to build a consistent, long-term, comprehensive and strategic relationship with China. So I told
we
President
do,
Xi,
Debbie, we do.
We don't. We honestly don't. He looked as though he was going to give somebody's epitaph. It looks as though he was at a funeral, those beautiful flowers. It's all very bizarre. We're living in a very weird world at the moment. Nothing makes sense.
Oh, I think that's on purpose. That we're getting confused all the
is.
time, aren't we?
Deliberately.
Everything is upside down. Did you see him on the red carpet? Did you see that clip?
No.
Oh,
no.
Right. So this, I've said, we both said this in the past, how weak our leaders are.
Puppets.
I mean, just weak, isn't it? I mean, this country's become weak. You know. Anyway, let's play. Let's play.
Put me out of my misery.
Here we go.
What is he doing?
Then it gets moved. Shoved out of the way.
Wow. Do you know what? He is honestly terrified. I see it. I mean, from the second he got off the plane, I mean, you know, think back to when Trump had his state visit with the Queen. And the Queen, he started walking in front of the Queen, didn't he?
Yeah.
And everybody was going, oh, and the Queen just let him. I'm not that I'm a great fan of the royal family. More to come on the royals soon, folks. But not that I'm a great fan of the royal family. But the Queen just let Trump do his thing, and it was no big deal. But I mean, that was so embarrassing.
Wasn't it just? Yeah. I mean, I mean that Trump thing though. A lot of the Q people would say that he did that on purpose to show his authority.
But the Queen didn't react though, did she? She didn't just get someone to push him out of the way. She didn't get one of her private equerries or security guards to push him out of the way and make an idiot out of him in public on the world stage. I mean, let's not forget, you know, this is the world stage. This isn't just your local pantomime down the road that 20 or 30 people might see, or at the most 100. This is the world stage, and he was humiliated. He isn't just weak, he looks pathetically weak. He looks wooden. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's like a fish out of water. And it's only here really that you can see the vulnerabilities in him, because otherwise it's all pompous kind of, yes, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to listen to anybody else, and oh, I'm the Prime Minister of the UK, rah, rah, and you know, and yet here he looks like terrified.
Well, he wasn't terrified in this clip though. He's the fifth Beatle.
No.
You wait for this.
No.
Look at him. They love him. They love him, Debbie.
No. This has got to. This has. You know, we have a company. What are they called? Crisis Cast.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like rent them up. I'm sure they've rented. How much have these people been paid to wave and smile? And
of course, that's what it is.
He still looks really awkward.
Oh, Debbie, how could you say that about our glorious chairman, Chairman Starmer?
Chairman Starmer.
Oh my
Chairman
God.
Starmer. He still looked terrified. But I mean, I reckon all of those people were rent a mob.
They do that all the time. The amount of times you see politicians hiring these mobs, if you like, clapping them in, and like anybody gives a crap about these politicians, really.
Well, if anybody just wants to go and check out what we do in the UK with the Home Office and the NHS and the police and everything, just go and look at crisiscast.com, because it'll tell you who they're working. Just rent them out. Absolutely.
So you mentioned before about Donald. May as well play the clip, you know, because he does bring that. It's good that he, again, you know, I'm no fan of Donald Trump. You know, don't ever think I am. I don't trust him. I don't believe any of it, what comes out of his mouth. But if there's entertainment value, it's usually Trump. But that's by purpose as well. That's all designed, bringing in a comedy. I mean, we had Johnson here as the, you know, you just fall into this thing that these guys are bumbling idiots.
For goodness sake, he was a comedian.
And a stripper.
I know.
It's just pathetic. Anyway, let's get Trumpy on.
What do you think about the UK getting into business with China? Keir Starmer is in Beijing.
Well, it's very dangerous for them to do that, and it's even more dangerous, I think, for Canada to get into business with China. Canada is not doing well. They're doing very poorly, and you can't look at China as the answer. I know China very well. I know President Xi's a friend of mine. I know him very well, but that's a big hurdle to go over when you get Canada. The first thing they're going to do is say you're not allowed.
Keir must have had his earplugs in when Donald said that. He must have been in China when he said it.
Yeah, and Mark Carney has actually confirmed that Canada have entered a new trade agreement with China. So you've got this defaction going on in the West. It seems you've got the UK, Canada, Australia, I think,
New Zealand.
yeah, all moving towards the China thing at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I spoke to Dr. Ursula Edgington, who lives in New Zealand, and obviously, you know, the China. She was telling me about, you know, in China they have one app, We app. Most of China is not. There's no cash, so everything's by phone or by palm or by face or by whatever. So, you know, all of this, and she says it's all creeping in. And I think everything, the whole China agenda, is not just Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK, USA. I think it's Europe as well. I'm looking at what's going on in Amsterdam. I'm looking at what's going on in Germany, in Italy, in Spain. And wherever I look in Europe, there's carnage. It's just that we've got so much carnage going on in our own country that we're not able to see what's going on in other European countries. But Europe is falling quickly.
It really is. Well, like, I mean, Trump said that himself at the World Economic Forum, didn't he? He said, you know, Europe is unrecognisable, and that's the word that he used before for the UK, and it's absolutely true.
It is. It's a completely different place. If my grandparents were here, they would not believe what they would be seeing right now.
No, and like you said again before, 2020 was kind of the start of all this. It's a testing ground, and we are now seeing things ramping up. So let's have a look at let's go back to our country and what's going on with the UK's FBI that was announced this week, because this is important. Because we, you know, people like you and I, Debbie, and many others, have been talking about this since 2020, that this is what they're heading for, because this is the Chinese model. This links into everything that they're doing at the moment. So let's bring on, how do you pronounce her name? Shabana Mahmood?
Shabana Mahmood, Home Secretary.
She puts me in a fucking mood anyway. Here we go.
And me.
Next week, I will set out the most significant reforms to policing this country has seen in 200 years. Let me tell you why. Last year, the police made over 750,000 arrests, and that's around 30,000 more than the year before. The most violent crimes that terrorise communities, like murder and knife crime, are falling. But for most people, things feel very different. Across the country, there is an epidemic of everyday crime. And all too often, crimes like shoplifting, theft, and antisocial behaviour seem to have no consequence. But crime is also changing. Sophisticated criminal gangs are working across the country and beyond our borders, smuggling drugs and trafficking people into this country. Meanwhile, the online world has changed, making it easier than ever for sexual abusers and online fraudsters to operate. The world has changed, but policing hasn't kept pace. Next week, I will set out a whole new model for policing in this country, delivering neighbourhood policing that protects your community while bearing down on national crime to protect us all.
Do you feel safe?
No. I feel far more at risk, actually, from that. I feel that it's given me the complete opposite message from the one I presume that she was trying to put out.
You know what I was thinking when I was watching it, I was listening to the things they were saying. I was thinking, well, you know, most of the things that she was listing there, the government are criminals about, you know, being the mafia that they are. You know, you're talking about bringing in people over the border. You're talking about drugs. You're talking about you know, underage paedophilia and things like that. Maybe there's a mirror that they're looking at.
Do you know, I mean, so these are my comments from that bit so far. Arrests are up. Yeah, they are, probably, because people are being arrested for putting flags up, for holding banners, for being out on their streets,
for saying something
for
on
making
social media
posts. Exactly. So yes, of course arrests are up, but then she said arrests are down for knife crime and murders. Yeah, that's because Shabama, you're letting them out. You're letting them out. Sometimes you're letting convicted prisoners out by mistake. Let's not forget what was happening in 2024. And then she was mentioning shoplifting. Well, that's very strange, because I was listening to somebody the other day, and I've forgotten her name. She's an academic and she's from Somalia. And she said, because a lot of people are saying, you know, that migrants and immigrants are shoplifting and just helping themselves from supermarket shelves. And apparently this is the culture in Somalia. So you have a choice in Somalia. If a Somali is coming to this country, and she was very honest about it, and she said, we have to have an honest debate, especially with people from Somalia. She said, because they follow in their country a clan cult, where they're able to take things because God has allowed this to happen. You know, that if they see something and it's there, then they'll take it, they'll help themselves, because that's how they've been brought up, that's their culture. So she said, when they come to the West, they find something very different, where that's not allowed, and it's deemed antisocial, and it's deemed illegal. But she said that's where we have to have an honest conversation with people coming into this country. Is, are you going to follow the culture of your country that you've just come from, or are you going to adapt to follow the culture from to the country you're going to? So when it comes to shoplifting, it's got so bad now that Richard, what's his name, the CEO of Iceland, has started this incentive where the public are going to be the security guards. So if you see somebody in Iceland that's shoplifting and you let them know, you'll get £1 on your loyalty card.
Ooh.
If you've got a loyalty card, which I haven't. However, that's what we're going. The policing is not about shoplifting anymore. Security is not about shoplifting anymore. It's all about social media posts. And that's what she said. She said, we're going, but you know, there's so much going on in social media. And then she said, oh, you know, we've got to stop the sexual trafficking. We've got to stop child trafficking. We've got to stop this. So close the borders. Close the borders, Home Secretary. Stop letting any more in, because you are not only importing an army of fighting fit, healthy migrant men, you're importing diseases. You know, when we go to any one of these countries, we have to be vaccinated for yellow fever, or we have to take pills for malaria, or whatever it is that's in that particular country. Is anybody doing any checks on people coming in this country? Because I'm seeing diseases that we'd eradicated a long time ago starting to resurge. So, you know what? Take a lesson out of your own book, Home Secretary, and close the borders, because you're the one that is responsible for what is going on currently in this country. And I do feel very strongly about that. And I do feel that her time is limited, I hope.
They're all limited. All of these are limited, these people that are running the show, but they're creating chaos right now because they know that it's all limited. They're just there to do a job. And then the next lot will come in, take over the shit show that's been left behind, and they'll have a job to continue.
And then the others
will
disappear.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then they'll disappear.
Same story every time.
You know, Boris, Rishi, you know, where are you now? Where are all the people? Matt Hancock, where are you? Which television program are you going on to next?
You know, these people should be in prison. Never mind.
Well, but you know what? Let's put them. I've always said I've been a big advocate for putting people back in the Tower of London. And since the Chinese smart super embassy is going to be situated right next to the Tower of London, I say that my bet was pretty good. Let's put them in there.
Let's put them in there. Let's continue this story, though, because it's a big one and people need to know what's going on if they've not checked it out.
Counter-terror fraud and criminal gang investigations are set to be taken over by a new national police force dubbed the British FBI under major policing reforms. The National Police Service will be created to crack down on serious and complex crimes, bringing the work of existing agencies under the same organization. Well, Sky's Charlotte Leeming has more details on that story. Charlotte, what else do we know?
Well, Barbara, the Home Office is proposing the biggest shake-up of the police service in decades. Changes, it says, will cut costs and be more effective and efficient. And sitting at the centre of all this will be the establishment of a national police service, a nationwide force, they say, that will focus on national and international crime like terrorism, fraud and organised crime. Now, the Home Secretary has said the current police service needs to be more agile and adept. She says criminals are becoming more sophisticated and they need to be able to deal with that, offering more continuity and consistency right across the board. So let's listen to what she's had to say about the reform. She says the current policing model was built for a different century. Some local forces lack the skills or resources they need to fight complex modern crime such as fraud, online child abuse or organised criminal gangs. We will create a new national police service dubbed the British FBI, deploying world-class talent and state-of-the-art technology to track down and catch dangerous criminals. So already being dubbed the British FBI. That description, I'm sure, will be included in plenty of headlines over the next few days. But
Well, Debbie, I think I said this in a video not too long ago about digital ID when I put out a video on digital ID. They won't need that many police because people will police each other. You saw it in 2020 where people would dob their neighbour in, as I was dobbed in, you know, for having people round at the pub and things like that. You know, people will, with a social crediting score and a social crediting system, and it happens in China as well, where your next door neighbour has not been putting out the litter and he's got litter all over the place. Your social crediting score will police people.
Of course it will. Of course it will.
All this technology will police people.
But then the thing is, it goes back to all of that snitching, doesn't it? And then we had the prevent scheme where if you were offended by something that somebody had said, then you could report them to prevent. And there would be that person would end up getting a knock on their door because you'd snitched on them, but never the source. That person would end up getting a knock on their door and they'd be told that they'd upset or offended somebody, but they wouldn't know where the report had come from. They wouldn't know what it was that they'd said. So this is all about snitching on one another. This is dividing people, turning them against one another. And this is what has always worried me. When COVID started, we saw this huge division. And then as COVID was sort of going back out, we found huge division with Israel and Gaza, and then huge division with climate change and huge division with all sorts of things. So they're dividing and they're dividing and they're dividing people to the point where they will turn on one another, and you don't know now who's going to be living near to you. I mean, you know, you go back to places like Cobra, they didn't ask for 500 migrant fighting fit healthy men to be stuck in their village. So you know, I just want to say, Shabama, if you're listening, Shabama, it sounds to me as you're creating this force to catch real criminals that are guilty of really bad things. So I'd say save your money, because I can tell you where they are, because they're all in Downing Street and they're all in offices where I can point you to their offices. So you actually don't need an FBI, Shabama. You don't. You just need us to tell you who the criminals are, and then it's job done. Save your money.
So she basically has said as well that it's her dream for the eyes of the state to be on you at all times.
Oh, please.
It's quite 1984, isn't it? I know.
Seriously, what kind of person says that?
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Who would want that ever in plain sight?
It's mental. Let's see you in Parliament.
Oh dear.
Others are fighting crime in a digital age with analogue methods. We will ensure that every force is adopting the latest technology led out of the new National Police Service. And this will include the largest ever rollout of live facial recognition technologies across England and Wales. We know this approach works. In London, in just 2 years, the Metropolitan Police have made 1,700 arrests, taking robbers, domestic abusers and rapists off our streets. When the future arrives, there are always doubters. 100 years ago, fingerprinting was decried as curtailing our civil liberties, but today we could not imagine policing without it. I have no doubt the same will prove true of facial recognition technology in the years to come. At the same time, we will launch police.ai, investing a record £115 million in AI and automation to make policing more effective and efficient, stripping admin away to ensure officer time can be devoted to the human factor that only a police officer can provide.
Okay.
Sorry? So, hang on a minute. Did you just say AI and human factor in one breath?
She did, yeah. She did indeed. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Total sense, but it goes back really to the beginning, doesn't it? To China.
It does. This is all links.
Are we the second most surveyed country, I think, or the third most surveyed country after China?
Yeah, we're a tiny country.
We're absolutely
We're a tiny country
minuscule.
that could easily handle its borders, which we don't.
Yep.
Can't tell me all this is not by design.
No, of course it's. But you know, she's talking about fingerprints. Back in my day, if you had your fingerprints taken, you were in big trouble. It was a blot on your copybook. It really was. You didn't admit to anybody that you'd had your fingerprints taken, because if you had fingerprints taken, it was because you were maybe doing something you shouldn't have done and you'd been accused of something or whatever. So now when I see youngsters just giving their fingerprints and swiping on their phone and facial palm and all the rest of it, this is your unique data. They're making a facial map of you.
Yes.
You know, that's what they're doing. They're making a map of your face, a map of your palm, a map of your finger, which is yours. It's your own private, unique facial map. And facial recognition can be wrong. Like I said before, people have been arrested when they've done nothing wrong because it's been misidentification. And since when, this is a question for everybody out there, if you're listening, since when has been taking a phone been compulsory or mandatory? You know, my mobile phone is now immobile, so I don't take it out with me.
Yeah.
So I suggest many people follow suit, because it's quite exhilarating actually not being interrupted. But it seems like we're all being now forced to have a phone. Like, well, you have to have this app. Well, I haven't got a phone, and people look at you as if you've just landed off a different planet. Do you know what I mean? Actually, there'll be more next week on phones, because there's a big change coming up with telephones.
Lovely.
Tell you about that next week.
Let me just summarise, because we're going to run out of a lot of time. There's things to get through, but we'll summarise the government's reforms to policing. It's facial recognition technology, which we know about, will be rolled out across England and Wales from next year, which I think is unlawful. I think, anyway. The 43 police forces will be cut to around 12 mega forces, who will only focus on major crime. So what is that? Knocking on people's doors for social media posts, possibly? That could be the major crime. Yeah. Okay. Local policing areas will be included in these forces in each town, city or borough, who will focus only on local crime, such as shoplifting or antisocial behaviour, or saying you're a twat on social media. A British FBI will be established, called the National Police Service, to bring together national policing functions to tackle fraud, terrorism and organised crime, with regional crime hubs built into its structure. All police officers must hold a licence to practice to remain in the force, to ensure they're trained to tackle emerging crimes, with those who fail removed from duty. Police will be required to reach serious incidents within 15 minutes in cities and 20 minutes in rural areas. If you're in rural areas, you may die quickly. And answer 999 calls within 10 seconds. A national public order commander will be appointed in the NPS to coordinate responses to riots. That's exciting. A new national centre called Police AI, Debbie, will roll out AI across all police forces from April to cut bureaucracy and speed up those investigations. A new national forensic service will be created to end postcode lotteries in forensic capability. Non-crime hating incidents will be abolished and replaced with a new framework so police can spend less time policing tweets, apparently. I don't believe that. Police governance will transfer to directly elected mayors or policing and crime boards made up of council leaders. And I'll note that the UK's rollout of facial recognition technology is going to rely on software that appears to have already been used in Gaza, which is used to track and trace and abduct thousands of Palestinians. Isn't that good for us?
I can't wait. Just one thing, two things actually, I'll add to that, is that if they're taking your data, you need to know who the data controller is. It doesn't matter which police force it is, what hotel it is, what restaurant it is, what shopping precinct it is. If there are cameras up there, then your data is going somewhere and you are entitled to know the data controller. The other thing that I would say regarding data is, let's not forget who has our data, and that's bANTer. So bANTer are involved in the Ministry of Defence, the Department of Health, the police service. They've got their little paws absolutely everywhere. So your face, which is unique, your data, which is unique and personal, is going to bANTer and China and Israel and, well, anywhere else, Mossad, wherever you want it to go, really. But it's not yours anymore.
No, and moving into the next section is 15-minute cities, which was announced. And, not to, put my tinfoil hat on or anything like that, and not that we were talking about this a few years ago as well. But again, this all links into the China thing, doesn't it? How they will survey, they will stop us traveling. And so let's just put on, I don't need to put a video on, I'm going to put a website on actually. And it is on the MSN, but it's basically Keir Starmer will introduce 15-minute cities across the country, with critics slamming them as Stalinist and perverse. Well, it is. However, what we have in Oxford is actively implementing a plan to introduce the scheme, and it's seen its local authority plot to divide the city into 6 15-minute city neighbourhoods, and this would see drivers needing to secure a permit so they could travel for 100 days for free through the traffic filters in the city. Oxford is the test case, it seems. But we've also discussed this in the past recently about Glasgow, so it's not just in England, it's also in other areas as well. But this is important. That people need to see that this is happening. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is happening.
I wish you could see the floor next to me, because honestly, there's so many tin hats. I had probably a lot of tin hats on my head all at once, one, and one by one they've all come off and I've thrown them to the ground. And 15-minute cities, neighborhood zones, we've been talking about for absolutely ages, and people would say, oh, don't be ridiculous. Of course you'll be able to visit your mother, of course you'll be able to go and visit your friends. Well, no, you won't, because if they're in a different zone, then you're only going to get a certain amount of passes to go into that zone every year. Otherwise you're going to have to pay, or perhaps you work in a different zone to the one that you live in. How are you gonna work that out? Maybe your kids, I mean, I've known somebody actually told me from London, from the ULEZ thing, that he was on one side of the road and the people on the other side of the road got free parking, but him on his side of the road, he was in the ULEZ zone, so he had to pay every single day for parking his car outside his house. It was ridiculous. So, when you think about it logistically, where does the division come? You've got over the road are in one zone, and then the other side of the road are in another zone, but you can't cross over the road because you're in the wrong zone. This is China. This is China again. The net is tightening, and Oxford in particular, I've focused on Oxford so many times for so many reasons. Larry Ellison, Oxford University.
Oh, I seem to have lost Debbie there. Bear with me a second as she comes back on. She just dropped out slightly.
I am still here.
Yeah,
I am
back.
still here.
You're back. You're back.
I am still
You
here.
just dropped
But
her.
no, I was just saying, Oxford, you know, Oxford is a massive subject. I've done my own Word in Edgeways matron on Oxford, purely about Oxford, what is going on in Oxford, because it's part of the Golden Triangle: Oxford, Cambridge, London, academics. It's what China want. It's the academia. It's getting their students over. It's getting information back again. So Oxford is a big hub. We need to keep an eye on Oxford. And if you're living in Oxford and you happen to be watching, then what do you think of it? You know, what's going on locally? Are you kicking off? Are you going to local meetings? Are you protesting? I mean, or is it being accepted and normalized?
Yesterday in The Guardian, not to wear my tinfoil hat again, but universal basic income could be used to soften the hit from AI job losses in the UK. We can see where this is going, can't we?
Oh, you're only going to get it if your social credit score allows you to get it, if you're eligible to have, if you're a good enough person to get UBI.
Well, that's it, because once it's connected to digital currencies, which we know that they're moving towards, the World Bank has been pushing hard on that, as many other big institutions have. You know, this is what they want. You know, with all the new FBI, UK FBI, and a digital ID, and your digital currencies, and universal basic income, and a social crediting score. What a wonderful future for our kids.
Not. And look, it said actually in that article that the research was done by, I think it was JP Morgan. You can't make it up. It's in plain sight. And this digital stuff, this one wallet, this government login, it's all coming. So,
I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll skim through because we've not got a lot of time, Debbie, because I know we wanted to talk about a few more things, but you know, again, this ties into the fact that, you know, they are wanting to ban under 16s for social media. They're on about banning VPN use for under 18s. This is control. You know, this is control, and it won't be about the under 16s. It's about the fact that we will need a digital ID to access. We know that, you know, you and I were just discussing this week where YouTube are talking about that you're going to need biometrics to use YouTube, which says, how long would we be using YouTube for? I don't know yet. You know, I mean, that's going to be a decision that individuals will make, you know, and that's a reality of it. And it's going to be the same with Facebook and everything else. And then they were talking about a bANTer ban in pubs this week as well. So everything is about normalizing people's behavior. I can't imagine if I was in my previous role as a landlord accepting a bANTer ban in my pub. If you didn't like a bit of banter, then you're in the wrong place.
It's British.
Absolutely,
it's British. And you know, I've always said the World Economic Forum, you will own nothing, you will have no privacy, but they didn't say you will be lonely, because you will. They don't want us to be happy. They don't want us to laugh. They don't want us to have a good time. They don't want us to joke with each other. They don't want us to have banter with each other. They just want us to be miserable, depressed, anxious, unhappy.
Well, you can get the app though, can't you, that China, like, what's it called? You know, that app where, you know, if you just check in, if you're not dead.
Are you dead? But you know what? That will come in, because that's what they're trying to divide. They're trying to divide everybody so much that they separate people. So they stop them from talking. They stop them from socializing. We saw it all in COVID, where the lockdown, you were stopping people from socializing, speaking to one another. And you as a landlord will know, and I've said it loads of times, how many, you know, elderly and vulnerable people used to come to the pub at 7 o'clock for half a pint, and then they'd go and have their dinner, and you would check in with them. You'd make sure that we're okay. It was a sense of proper community spirit.
Absolutely.
Now you can't even do that. So you're going to be lonely. They want us to be lonely.
We're going to have to work hard on this. Community spirit. It's going to be massively important, and we're going to have to start pulling people together, get in your communities, get being human again. We need to be human, because that's what they want. They want us so away from being human.
100% transhuman.
Well, that's That's the big topic, isn't it? That's the big topic. But that's what they want. It's all about transhumanism. The whole thing's about transhumanism.
Yeah, Jared Kushner.
Indeed. Right. I know we're definitely running out of time, so let's rush into this one. I had a little clip for you. I don't know if you've seen it. There was a meeting, a council meeting, I think it's in Crowborough, where over 500 illegal fighting men apparently have moved in recently, and it's only a short clip where the councillor was asked a very valid question, and I think it's important to play this.
Next to him, and then Jack, can we come to the two ladies at the back? Sir first.
Yeah. How do you plan to meet the sexual needs of 600 men?
Andrew, did you hear the question?
Yeah, I said I don't.
Okay. Gentleman in the black.
There you go, Debbie.
I watched the whole meeting.
Oh, did you?
I've been following Crowborough, and oh my goodness, well done, Crowborough, well done, because week by week the protests have gone on and on and on, and last weekend it was huge. I mean, honestly, I've never seen anything like it. It was just flags and patriots, and there was singing, and there was it was just amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And then I saw the public meeting, and the community are angry, very, very angry. And there's an awful lot I could say about the public meeting. But one thing that I will say, another very important question that a mum brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that clip's been going around because quite rightly, men have got needs, right? Women have got needs. What are you going to do about it, council? Because we've got migrant men wandering around, and then they're going into this camp, and they're being let out. So the residents are seeing them crossing the park, walking around the town, getting on the train, going to London. And he said, that civil servant, he said, we can't keep them in. That would be illegal. We can't keep them in. So one mum said, we'd like to know if you're going to give schools the same protection and security that you're giving the migrant camps, because they're surrounded by fencing, there's security 24/7, there's police, and yet the schools have got nothing. And the answer from that civil servant, Andrew, was no.
Mm-hmm.
There is no security going in for schools. There's no high fencing going in. There's no security guards going in. There's no watch at all. So you can see what's going to happen. The fathers, the parents are going to be the ones that end up guarding the schools. And we're going to end up with vigilante groups protecting their own communities because they don't feel safe. So big up to Crowborough. And I'm hoping everybody watches and supports Crowborough and Epping and all of the other places that are being affected by these camps and by people that are committing crime, where parents can't allow their children out in the evening or picking them up from school. Some parents are taking their children out of school and homeschooling them because they don't trust what will happen to them in school. It's that bad. It's that bad. And that's what we need to be looking at.
Very serious subjects that we're talking. I know often we make light of things in our chats, but these are all serious subjects.
Really serious. Big up to Crowborough.
Speaking of camps, do you want to announce anything that we've been talking on for a little while that we're going to probably do a bit more with this bANTer with Debi, and we're going to rebrand, and we've come up with a brand, haven't we?
We have indeed. Welcome to Camp 3, everybody.
Camp 3, yeah.
Everybody's going to say, why did you call it Camp 3? Who's going to tell them, Ant? Me or you?
You're better than I am at explaining things, because I forget stuff. So you're better at this. And we have got a very, very interesting podcast that's going to be coming out in the next few days, we hope. We're just waiting for the green light on it, because there's a few things that are important that you've been discussing, Debbie, that people have been asking questions about. However, Camp 3, what's the reasons for Camp 3, and why have we decided to call it Camp 3?
Wow, it's all thanks really to Dr. David Hughes. And if you don't know Dr. David Hughes, you really should go to his Substack and to his website, and I'm sure we'll put the links up, because he is amazing, and he's a great historian anyway, and he's got so much knowledge. But he devised this framework called Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3 framework. And I think it's absolutely phenomenal. So basically, Camp 1 is legacy media. So you're looking at BBC, Sky, you're looking at Channel 4, you're looking at all your broadsheets, your newspapers, etc. And this is a framework for media, because the media landscape has changed. You know, back in World War One, World War Two, you'd be lucky if you got a radio broadcast. You might get a telegram, or there may be a written note, or information technology like we have today wasn't around. So now you've got this cascade of information that's coming in from lots of different arenas, and the media landscape has changed. So you've got the legacy media, your BBC Ones, your BBC Twos, etc. But since COVID, you've had this explosion in alternative media. But what is alternative media? I'm not sure. So what David says is that alternative media are Camp 2. So these are the people that are kind of knowing what's going on. They've got a sniff that something's not right. They're looking for other avenues to go down. They're looking for their tribe. They know that the legacy media are talking absolute #bullshit, and they're looking for a home. They're looking for someone that will tell them the truth, and many have found their way into the alternative media. But I have to say that since COVID, the alternative media Camp 2 has just gone. It's huge, because you've got podcasts, you've got websites, you've got news channels, you've got vlogs, you've got YouTube, you've got Rumble, you've got Instagram, Facebook. I mean, you know, creators. There's all sorts of creators. And in Camp 1, you basically know that they're talking bullshit, right? We know they're talking bullshit, but I kind of keep my eyes on what they're doing, just to know what they're saying. In Camp 2, you don't know who anybody really is. In Camp 1, you know that there's conflicts of interest. You know that the globalists are funding the BBC and ITV and Channel 4 and all the rest of it. You know what their ratings are. You know who are watching them. So it's not transparent, but you can see figures and data. Whereas with Camp 2, you don't know who anybody is. You don't know where they've come from. You don't know what qualifications they've got. And you don't know who's funding them either. And some people have got very big platforms, and they've had very big platforms very quickly, or they've had a surge in their in their attractiveness, and people have gone to them and they've literally listened to every word they've said and taken it as gospel, that this is the truth. And what I've found since looking at all of this and listening to what David has to say about Camp 1 and Camp 2, I suddenly realized that Camp 3, which is really tiny and is full of little people like you and me, and who are just trying to put out the news. Yeah, little tiny people, small channels. You know, we're just trying to do our little bit. I'm a gobby granny. You're trying to do your bit and to put out the news for genuine reasons, not for fame, not for fortune, not for ego, not for money, not for greed. So we suddenly realized that Camp 3 was really tiny. It's really, really tiny. But then we realized that, well, actually, I was in Camp 2, although I thought I was in Camp 3, as you'll find out in the podcast coming up. I genuinely thought I was in Camp 3 all along, and then suddenly realized, oh, I think I got misdirected somewhere, and still get misdirected. And I'm not saying that you've got to be in one camp forever. You can move between camps. You can do what you want. You're your own person, right? You're sovereign. So we thought it would be a really good idea. Why don't we create a physical Camp 3 where we could maybe cut out some of the noise for the audience? Maybe we could just do more research into who we speak to and who we listen to. And, you know, we're not saying that we're not going to make mistakes. Of course we are. But we're hoping to be able to cut through the noise and give you authentic news for the right reasons, because we're seeing things, we're joining dots, that we think you might want to know, and not for any other reason, but to give you that information, to signpost you. If we see red flags, we'll flag it up to you. So we're creating a Camp 3, and it's very small at the moment. And we hope that people will join us, that they'll share our content. It's baby at the moment, so bear with us, because it's a work in progress, and there's just me and Ant. But we've spoken to quite a few people who are very happy to find Camp 3 and want to be included in Camp 3.
Yeah.
So watch this space.
Watch this space.
Exciting!
So we've got a skeleton of a website that's available there, and people can join the mailing list. And you know, there's already some articles on there that Debi has written, well worth reading, and that will continue. This show will continue, but we'll rebrand the Banter with Debi to Camp 3 probably in the next few weeks, and we may change the time as well so it doesn't coincide with other channels potential. We've not fully decided on that yet, but just watch this space. Everything will be announced either here on the Stellify channel or on the Camp 3 website. But join the mailing list. You know, that's probably the best thing to do right now, so we can keep in touch with you of what our plans are and what's going to be happening, because people will be joining Camp 3, like you say, and writing articles for us and being interviewed, and these are people that we, you know, we're going to use our discernment as best as possible. So we you know, we're always looking at the grounded person, and ones that are just searching for truth. We're searching for the truth.
Humility and respect as well. We're not doing egos. We're not doing greed. We're not doing any of that. We're looking for people that follow the same ethos as we do and have a moral compass where we actually just want to go and give the news. We know so many people that have got amazing information and it gets lost because bigger channels and bigger creators and contributors swallow up the big figures, whereas you've got these amazing people who are putting out some incredibly vital news.
Yes.
And it's not getting out to people, so we're hoping to be able to cut out the noise a little bit. We can't guarantee we're going to make mistakes. We're human, but that's what we want it to be, human. And it's all about respect. It's all about humility. It's all about transparency, because what goes on in Camp 1, which nobody likes, it also goes on in parts of Camp 2 too. Yeah. So, you know, if you think you're being scammed in Camp 1, there are plenty of wonderful, good people in Camp 2. Let me make that absolutely straight. There are plenty of amazing people in Camp 2. Plenty of people who might suddenly think, oh, I didn't mean to be in Camp 2. I want to be in Camp 3. So you'll get people moving from camp to camp, but it's also a way of identifying people. If you're in the supermarket and somebody's telling you they've just seen something from the BBC and they completely believe it, you kind of go, well, okay, I know where they are on their ladder of awareness, if you like. So you might want to just change your conversation a little bit. So it can be very useful for you to know where you are and what you're watching, and question everything, and also for where other people are as well. It can avoid a lot of arguments.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for everyone that's joined us today. We'll end on a bit of a funny, as we always try to do, and we'll see you next week. I look forward to it, Debi, as always. But let's sign off with ICE have been in the news quite a lot in the States. You may have seen that ICE have been in the news quite a lot, but there was a little bit of a chase of a protester in Minneapolis, which was very interesting. So let's bring that out. Hold on a minute. It's sharing the wrong screen. Hold on a moment. Bear with me. And
we're holding.
You ready?
Here we go.
You ready?
We're looking live in downtown Minneapolis, where a protester dressed in a full-body foam hand flipping the bird is somehow outrunning federal agents on what appears to be an oversized office chair with wheels. This has been going on for several blocks now. You're looking live in downtown Minneapolis, where a protester dressed in a full-body foam hand...
It's like a Benny Hill thing or something.
I want that music. When they really sprint, they look so weighed down with all their kit that they couldn't really move.
And he's just in a chair, just like wheeling down. Brilliant. Legendary.
And you've got to keep smiling. You've got to keep laughing, because they don't want you to be happy. They really don't.
Exactly. And that's why we try our best to bring some humour into a serious situation. Thanks, Debi. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone. See you next